a lot of noise for our speaker from Dublin and the last DEPster at the Dome. Say hi to Sinead.
Lorem Ipsum. Lorem Ipsum dolor sitamet. Consectator ad Ipsum elite. Nullum vitae, velas iculus, stagatus. Confused? So am I. That's because I'm speaking Lorem Ipsum. Lorem Ipsum, it's been the go-to filler text for typesetters and designers for centuries. And even today, in our digital world, it's still often used to represent text in layouts and designs. But nobody speaks Lorem Ipsum, and nobody understands it. In fact, it means nothing. It's Latin gibberish. So then why do we still use it? Why do we design without content? Why do we design blank, empty spaces into which we expect the message, the actual content to fit? Why do we lead with design and expect content to follow? See, the rationale behind using Lorem Ipsum is that it focuses the user's attention on the design and it stops them reading the text. But I know users don't come to a design. They come for information. Information that's delivered through content, UX, design, and technology. But all too often we get absorbed in the design and technology and leave content out of the conversation. But users want a conversation with your brand. So why aren't we crafting the conversations first? My mission is to give the conversation a central role. Conversations made of content that inspires, informs, educates, engages, and, well, entertains. And I believe if we start with that conversation, with that content, then we will have the building blocks for a successful user journey. And if we don't believe that, well, then we're just facilitators, aren't we? Making websites and apps with blank, empty spaces that say, insert content here. And when we do it that way, it can go all kinds of wrong. Old, low-quality content, blank, duplicate pages, inconsistencies, typos, and ultimately, a damaging user experience. But it doesn't have to be that way. When we embrace content, designers know what to design for. Project managers know the timeframes better. Users get to have a conversation with your brand. And us, well, our products and services perform better. Sounds good, doesn't it? So how do we create that content-centered approach? Well, we too go on a journey from content to maturity, where content's an afterthought, to content maturity, where content leads the way. And I'm going to give you some rules to help make that journey a successful one. Rule number 1, use a content professional. So, way back in the Rockies in the 1990s, my sister and I, we were hiking on a holiday, and we saw all these tourists, and they were jumping off their tour bus. They were running to see a bear that had appeared in the grass by the roadside. I didn't hold out much hope for them surviving the experience, because I believe some things are best left to professionals. That includes wild animals and writing content. But hang on, you say. We can all write, can't we? No. Creating digital content is a skill. Strategizing, producing, and planning good digital content requires specific skills. For example, you need to understand the business and its business goals. You need to understand the users and their needs. You need to understand the subject matter experts and the facts they give you. And you need to translate all of those things into useful, usable content. And along the way, you need to incorporate tone of voice, style guides, technical requirements, stakeholder needs. It's endless. So why would you hire professional designers and professional developers, but leave the content to non-professionals? It doesn't make sense. Because content, not Lorem Ipsum, connects with users. Rule number 2, prepare for an early start. Time for a bear joke I've been saving since the 1990s. How do you know if you're being chased by a black bear or a grizzly bear? You run up a tree. If it runs up after you, it's a black bear. If it knocks the tree down, it's a grizzly. Either way, you're kind of done for. Content can be the grizzly bear of a digital project. And what I mean is that your project might be going along nicely. Users researched, design signed off, development underway. And when all of a sudden, out of hibernation comes a 700-pound wild animal ready to knock it all over. It can often be very large, no one will understand it, and no one will claim to own it. So don't let content cause chaos. Start early, measure and respect the effort involved, and soon you too will have that grizzly licking honey from your hand. Although I don't actually recommend doing that. So an early start, what does that mean? It means the content team going in at the beginning with the rest of the team. And together we combine our research to understand the content maturity of the organization, the obstacles we face, and the content strategy we need to reach our goals. Because content, not Lorem Ipsum, connects with users. Okay, rule number 3. Ask the right people the right questions. When you're going on a journey, it's always good to have some insider knowledge to make it a successful one. In the Rocky Mountains, my sister and I, we had the local milkman from Banff, Marcel, and he was great. He gave us an insider's view of being a milkman in the Rockies and answered all of our questions. In digital projects, though, we often avoid asking hard questions about content. It's easier to assume that the content we need will just arrive in week 25 of the project, signed off, formatted, proofed, and ready for insertion. Except it doesn't work like that. That's not going to happen. Because digital content is often complex and always time-consuming. So we must ask questions at the beginning, such as, do you know how much content you manage? Do you have an agreed content strategy? Do you have a content publishing workflow? And we must ask those questions of the right people. The subject matter experts who will give us the facts, the editors who will craft the message, and the stakeholders whose sign-off is critical to success. So, identifying the stakeholders and asking the right questions at the beginning is essential, because content, not Lorem Ipsum, connects with users. So, these 3 rules I've given you, they'll help you journey from content immaturity to content maturity. And taking this journey is now more important than ever, because businesses are publishers, and we're publishing more content than ever. Press releases, news, events, emails, social media posts, offers, seasonal content, web pages, new websites. It's endless. And unless you put the 3 rules into practice and create a content culture, the pressure to put all these things live will quickly cause content chaos. So, if you meet resistance to this, Then take time to remind people of the potential results. In my work, we've seen 20% reduction in calls to customer call centers, a 50 to 80% reduction in the volume of content a brand has to manage online, increased customer satisfaction, increased content quality. The value of a professional approach to content is huge for users, businesses, and creatives, but it won't succeed long-term without that culture. So, to wrap up, let's stop with the Lorem Ipsum mentality. Let's send it back to the age of the printing press where it belongs. We're in the new digital reality where our role is to connect, communicate, and converse. And when you're making that journey, remember the 3 rules. Prepare for an early start. Ask the right people the right questions. And use content professionals. And that way we can stop the grizzly bears jumping all over our work and send them back to the forest where they belong. Thank you for listening. If you have any grizzly bear problems, come talk to me.